is a 2014 Ford Edge Limited. I kept having the service advance track light come on, and it would slam the vehicle into maybe overdrive or in between two gears, trying to keep me from spinning tires or sliding, whatever it may be. So I'm doing this with the vehicle running because it's Southwest Florida and the temperature is currently 93 degrees. Being inside of this vehicle with no air would absolutely kill you. Okay, so this is a clock spring here. Behind the clock spring is the steering angle sensor. This is the old one. It literally slides on just like that. It has a clip from the company that I bought it from to be able to keep it stationary. Clips in, holds the wheel still. In the event that the clip is not there, hopefully you can see this. There is an arrow right there, and there's an arrow up under that goop there as well. If there is not, that's supposed to line up with this little notch right here, this notch. So that arrow and this notch line up with one another. Slide it on carefully if you're doing it with the vehicle running like I am. Slide the airbag clock spring back on. Put a screw in here. Put a screw in here. Put a screw in here. And then start snugging them down. It doesn't need to be super tight. This was cobbled together when I got the vehicle, so I may try to fix that while I'm here. I'm not entirely sure if I want to do that or not, or leave it the way it is, because we've had it for over a year and it's been working right since. So the steering wheel is probably the easiest steering wheel I've ever had to take off in my entire life. It has a big center bolt that is T50. All of them should be the same. There is screws on the back of the steering wheel. If you take the steering wheel after you pull it off, you don't have to have any special tools to get it off. Just pull the steering wheel out, roll it down to where the airbag would be facing the ceiling of the vehicle. And then you have screws here, sorry for the horrible focus. You know what, let me just take it off and show it. You have a screw there. It's a T25 or 27, I can't remember. Then that one is the same. This one is smaller. It's a T20. Sorry. T20 there. T20 there. And a T20 there. I took those loose to be able to help get the clips there out. It allowed enough space right here to be able to slide the plugs up under it and go out the port there. The front plastic here, it's not very easy to get off, so I would recommend not having a steering wheel cover on here. I didn't want to take it all off just to save a little bit of time. I pulled the bottom cover down here, pulled this piece out first, grabbed here, wiggled and pulled up, grabbed here, wiggled and pulled up. That way I could access these screws, or bolts rather, sorry. These are T20 as well, I believe. I'll double check right now. This is a T27. Oh, these are T27s. Take them loose, don't take them out. Taking them out will make life extremely hard. because those are spring load bolts right there, as you can see, probably up under. Go a little bit further here. Yeah, it's not very clear, but there's a spring up under there. You don't want to be fighting with those and space at the same time. More especially if you don't take this cover all the way off. Nevertheless, when you're done putting all of the clock spring back in, like I have there, you want to fish the wires back through for the airbag. They go through this port here where this big plug is. That goes to the steering wheel controls. It goes through here, under here, into the airbag. These plugs here, they're all the same on Ford. I've watched videos of people saying, oh, they're all different. No, they're not. They're all the same. They have this clip, this yellow clip. Some of them have black clips. They all pull up exactly the same and unlock. You can take your fingernail if you have one, pull it up, and it slides right out. This, you may have to wiggle side to side to be able to get it out of there, but it'll come out with a little bit of effort. The bolts on this specific vehicle, they're not Torx at all. This is one bolt that went to this spot here that holds the bottom cover on, and then the other two are black bolts. These are all 7mm. There's one bolt here, one bolt here. You have to pull this down in order to get to it, and then there's one bolt that is back up under here. I'm not entirely sure where it is without getting down there again, but to be able to get the bottom panel off of the steering column, to be able to give you a little bit more room, the way that I did it anyways. I took this out on the side just enough to be able to get my fingers behind here, pulled out here, pulled out here, pulled out here. This does have a pin that's supposed to go back in down inside of this hole. It goes in at an angle. I'm not entirely sure why that's so loose, but I'll address that at another time. When you go to put it back in, you want to pull up slightly towards the dash and then push it in. Same with this. These are all at an angle. If you wanted to, you could go underneath and take the screws out that hold the bottom of the panel off. They're 7 or 8mm. This feels like a 10. This car had been wrecked before, so everything is completely different. That feels like a 10 up under there though. Steering wheel goes back on. Hopefully, if you thought about it, you set the steering wheel straight before taking all this apart, which I had it straight, and obviously the ground allowed it to move back that way slightly since it's not exactly centered. But if you pull everything off one way, it's got to go back on that way. Let's see, I've been probably 30 minutes involved in this, taking my time, making sure I got everything right. Steering wheel is getting ready to go back on now, after I put the screws in the back of it, of course. So that means that I have to fish these through, put the screws into the back, tighten the screws into the front, and it's all done. Sorry, screws in the front got to go in first, the bolts, then the screws in the back that hold the faceplate on. Steering wheel goes on, center bolt goes back on, plug gets plugged back in, and somewhere in that process the bottom panel goes back in. This has to be pulled down in order to put it in. The top part clips to the bottom part. This piece right here gets put back in. Then the screws get put back into this bottom section here. You don't have to take this out. I pulled it out just to make sure there was no screws behind there, although had this thing apart once before, but it's been a year ago when I put my new radio in. I've since switched out to my old radio, and no faceplate, unfortunately. After all of this is done, the steering angle sensor does have to be reprogrammed in order to make sure that light goes off and your power steering works. If you don't have a scanner capable of doing it, I would recommend probably not doing this yourself. I think that pretty much covers everything. The airbag, this airbag is a pain in the neck to get out, but there is clips inside of that clip onto the back of here. I used a T-handle, Torx, slid it in one side, felt for the pin. Some of them have a plate that you can push. This one doesn't. It has little bars that stick up like this at an angle that clip onto these pins here. You push that bar in, pull one side of the horn out, go to the other side, push the bar in, pull the horn out, and the whole thing comes loose.